Well, it's story time, I guess. I saw the video of Tom getting up on his board. I also heard that he broke his ankle in the parking lot. I'm not laughing about that really too much. Tripped over the leash. Son of a bitch. Oh well, life happens. Glad he's alright for the most part. Fracture. Didn't like snapping a hand. So that's I was having a conversation with some friends today. We were working a Zoom meeting and going over lyrics for not our own stuff, other clients. This guy had some stories and we started talking, and the song Amanda came up. The one that Waylon did, Waylon Jennings. Don Williams did it before him, but Waylon made it famous. In 1982, I'm going to tell you this real quick, how I was introduced to Waylon Jennings. And to be able to send these videos, I got to be able to play a song and tell the story under 15 minutes, I figured out. So let's get cooking. Because I'm not a tech guy, I'm not doing any of this shit. Anyways, listen, so there was this neighbor of mine, his name was Billy Green. He was a fucking thief. And, I mean a thieving son of a bitch, right out of the cradle. And he'd rip off anybody. He'd leave a garage door open, he didn't know your name. Fuck, there went your red line. And he'd go break into convenience. I went in his garage one time. He had a safe filled with water. He knew what he was doing. He had that torch out. Getting it done. And I never partake in any of that shit. He didn't have a conscience at all, but he was adventurous, so I hung out with him when we were on cul-de-sacs. In our backyard there was a gate in there, and it met, and that's back when, you know, neighbors would go over to each other's houses and get pissed up and talk about lawnmowers and decide it's probably a carburetor. And we were over there bullshitting and started talking about adventure, because that's what I enjoyed talking about. And I said, well, I got $10 in my pocket. I said, how about you get $10? And I said, we see how far either of us can make it on $10. And he said, okay, that sounds like a good idea, but we've got to travel independently. And then you got to prove how far you made it. And the winner gets $50. I thought, shit, that's a lot of money. Anyway, he chickened out at the end. At midnight, I met him with my rucksack, and he said, I'm not going. I said, well, all I got to do... Well, I didn't say it. I was thinking I'd just go to the end of the driveway and I'll win. But I knew some bitch would break into the house that night and steal his 50 bags, so I figured I better lay down some track and really earn it. My buddy had out in California, his aunt owned a donut shop in Castle Rock, and we was living in Inglewood. My dad was out in Washington, D.C. trying to get a physics firm going. And was out there by County Line Road. And when you got past that, it's not like nowadays. You can go all the way to Colorado Springs and not see nothing but houses. Back then, there wasn't shit. There was probably like 2 fucking water towers all the way to Castle Rock, and a lot of cactus I was kicking. Anyway, I decided eventually I got up on the road and hitchhiked for a few minutes. By the time I got to Castle Rock, I only had to wait around 20 minutes before Mary showed up at the donut shop. She didn't seem surprised to see me. She put me to work till 10 because her help didn't show up. She tried to pay me. I wouldn't take the money. I would have broke the deal. I told her I was heading back up to Inglewood. And I walked out across that parking lot with a dozen donuts, mainly Long Johns and apple fritters, and 1 orange juice that I didn't really want. Anyway, I said, fuck it. I want to see if I can make it further. I still have $10 and a dozen donuts. I'm doing and an orange juice. It might come in handy. And I barely got my thumb in the air, and this country squire station wagon pulled over. And long story short, is a Mexican guy with 3 kids that was up there for a funeral, and they didn't have any money. And he said, where are you going? I said, how far can I get? And he says, "You got any money?" I said, $10. He said, "That'll get you to Fort Worth, Texas." I said, "Well, fuck it, I'm going to win this one." And that's where we ended up. He didn't have any money. He'd hit these Catholic churches on the way down there and talk him into a tank of gas, and we'd be on our way. I stayed in the station wagon. He didn't have to tell me why. And we got down to Fort Worth, and he had a house there out in the sticks, and he had no power running to it, but he had propane going to the stove, and he had a cute little wife with 2 more Bambitos, both in diapers. One looked like just fresh out of the oven itself. Anyway, that's how they heated their house, and they had candles going, a lot of rosaries and scapulas laying around, and the Virgin Mary glowing in every corner. It was all right. They gave me a little walk-in closet thingy. It had a little throw mattress in there, and that was my room, and it was just fine. We had toasted bread with fried bologna and tomatoes on it. Quesadilla, guacamole salsa kinds. It was very tasty. She said it fine grace, and he played the good guitar in the evening. They said a prayer, and everybody went lights out. They were tired people and good-hearted. In the morning, we went to Justin Boot Factory's big red brick building. I got in there, and there was a guy who reminded you of Danny DeVito on Taxi, a real prick sitting behind a cage. He'd hand you a chip. He didn't ask fuck all about you, where you come from, how old you were, what language you spoke. Didn't give a fuck. He'd hand you off to somebody else. He'd figure out what you had going, what skill set you had, or whatever. By day 2, they had me on a stitcher, standing on a milk crate, making a few more cents an hour. We'd go back to the house at night, and they always had people over. A little music in the background. They'd eat outside. It was nice during the night, or evening, and then pretty cold at night in that old house. Anyway, it was day 8 or 9. The place got raided. I got handcuffed. Whatever Mexican didn't feel like running got handcuffed. And I got sent to this little jail. And I was in there talking to the sheriff, and he had my backpack. They went back to the house and got it, and the story unfolds and whatever. Nobody got in trouble, really. And he took my nunchucks, and he said I couldn't have my brass knuckles and switchblade that was attached to it. And I said, "Hey, switchblade. Either way, you can't have it." He says, "You're under arrest because you broke the law for running away from home." I said, "Let's clear this up right now." I said, "I didn't run away from home. I'm in a contest." And I explained it to him. And anyway, he called my dad, and they put me on a bus. They made me pay for the ticket. That they figured I'd be broke enough I'd stay on the bus. So I got a ticket back to Castle Rock. Fortunately, my dad's friend met me there, and I didn't have to listen to much. And on the way there, though, there was a Marine. He got on in the middle of nowhere. It woke me up. I was sleeping on the bus, and he got on with a parlor guitar and some beers. And this is a long story, and it's a great story. I'm trying to race through it. But anyway, he got a pretty good shine on, and he gave me a beer, and he said, "You ever heard this one?" And he started into it, and I said, "Yeah, that's Don Williams." And he said, "Wrong. This here is Waylon Jennings." I said, "All right." And I knew Don Williams sang that song. I never heard of Waylon Jennings. I wasn't going to argue about it. I was happy he sat next to me. Of course, that was the only seat available. The bus was loaded with Mexicans and 2 white guys, 1 kid and a Marine. And he was a nice man. I fell asleep again, and he gave me a nudge and said, "Hey, this is where I get off." And I got up, and there was nothing there either. All these people lived nowhere. And there was an old pickup waiting across the street for him on a dirt road. And he said, "Here, man, take this." And he handed me $50. He said, "You won your contest." And I said, "I can't take that." He said, "You got a long way to go to Castle Rock." He says, "My ride's right there." He says, "Hey, don't ever say a Marine didn't do nothing for you." I said, "I wouldn't say that." And I said, "Thank you for introducing me to Waylon Jennings." He said, "Yeah." He said, "That's worth more than $50. He wasn't shit. I didn't get grounded when I got back. You don't ground a kid that made it to Fort Worth, Texas on $10. There's no leverage in that fucking conversation. You just give them a lot of fucking chores. What I'm going to do is stop the video here and play the song on another one so we can do this. We'll see. I don't know how much time I got this. Back for part 2. So, it was a great adventure in 1982. I was fortunate I wasn't snatched up. Would have been that easy. Nobody would have been the wiser. It was a different time. I had a lot of fortunate moments in my life. People ask me if I believe in miracles. I tell them I depend on them every day. I've held it all in. God knows I've tried, but it's an awful awakening in a country boy's life. Look in the mirror and told them right at the hair on my shoulders and the age in my eyes. Oh man, the light of my life, fate should have made you, it's a measure of people don't understand. Pleasure's alive and here with the band. Got my first guitar when I was 14. I'm way outside of 50. They're still wearing jeans. Yeah, I'm way past 50. They're still wearing jeans. Well, I guess that should do it for tonight. I love you guys. I hope you feel better, Tom. Get back on your board. Keep being good to each other. Keep being good to everybody. Be good to yourselves. Love you. Keep playing your guitars and your new keyboard, buddy. He sounds amazing. All right, cheers.